welcome back to the Hoggie Shuffle. We're into episode 9 this week. Wow, we're on a third month in now. It's really starting to we're having a lot of fun with this. It's starting to take off a little bit. We're seeing a little more traction, more comments online. Keep engaged, guys. We want to see those comments out there. We want to see that stuff. Share it to your friends. See what's going on. The only way this grows, the only way we build the lineman community is obviously by talking about it and getting it bigger.
100%. Like you said, we're trying to make this thing as big as possible. But I mean, we're just sitting here doing this for fun, staying in contact. I mean, we had a great episode last week. We were together for the first time, and for me, that just showed how our cohesiveness is together. That coming from doing it apart to now we're doing it like that one time doing it together. It felt so fresh.
Oh, 100%. And it's nice now, too, going to the introductions, obviously, I'm Preston, I'm the host. We got Robbie here, the co-host. This week, really want to focus on linebacker mayhem and the O-line mind games. Whatever it takes to be an offensive lineman, where you got to sit there and you're calling out the blitzes, you're seeing what's happening, you're pulling to the right side, what's coming in this side, he's got the edge rusher over here. I want to go over all that stuff.
Right, job versus job, right?
Exactly. And obviously, the kickoff catch-up, I want to kick things off talking about Micah Parsons. Now, I know I just said talking about offensive lineman, but first thing I want to talk about is the kind of guy that you have to scheme against as an offensive lineman. The kind of guy where you have to start making a bit of a game plan, understanding that if you put your arm here, he's putting his hand there. You got to understand that he's going to see that coming. Big thing with Micah Parsons is he is an unstoppable force. I mean, he is a monster. His videos out him going in sumo wrestlers. I mean, he trains every day to be a monster. And I mean, let's be honest here. He's an Eagles fan. He might play for the Cowboys, but he's at the Sixers games. He's a Philly fan all day long. And I was just reading on here. It looks like he is attending the mandatory mini camps. There's been talks because all his contract talks, right? It sounded like he's going to get a big deal and all this stuff, and no one knew it was going to happen. But I got this quote from him today where it says, "I will be there. I haven't missed a mini camp in 4 years. Even though the contract's not done, I have teammates and a playbook. I'm preparing as if I'll be on the field first week of camp. But it's in the owner's hands at this point. I'm ready to win a Super Bowl."
Right. I mean, like, what's his contract situation like right now?
Right now, he's on his final year of his rookie deal. He's got $24 million fully guaranteed coming in 2025. But they're saying, reports are indicating that he's going to have a record-breaking deal, potentially over $205 million, surpassing the Myles Garrett mark, and going to set the new benchmark for defensive linemen.
And he deserves it. I mean, the guy
100%.
is an absolute dog every single day that he's on the field. Like, and not just that, and he puts in the work in the offseason all the time.
There is not one fan in the world on their football team that wouldn't want Micah Parsons as their defensive lineman.
100%. I mean, I think it's going to be a little different for him than losing, his head coach and going with Brian Schottenheimer, which was just like a shot in the dark kind of thing, right? Like how that's going to emphasize the rest of his, playing career, if that's going to be his coach. And I'm pretty sure he only had Mike McCarthy as a coach, right?
Well, and then now with the new coach, what's going to happen now? Because I know previously in the last few years he had abilities where he was dropping in pass coverage, ripping around. Is he now going to be just a rush end? Is he now going to be more of a pass coverage guy? Where are they going to kind of swing him where they need to be at, right?
Right. Well, you know as well as I do. I mean, the owner of the team always holds the keys, and the owner of that team, he's just like Al Davis. He runs it how he sees fit. He's not running it by camp. He's not running it by committee. He's running it by what he thinks is the best plays and players for his team.
100%. And I get that. And I mean, with no deal done yet, Parsons still president at minicamp. Like, he's locked in. And I think that's a big leadership move. I think he's showing the young guys what it means to be a locked-in NFL player. Going into year 4, he really wants to show that he's the guy.
Right. And again, like, we're going to touch on a couple things later in the episode, but like somehow, some way, these owners and coaches feel like they can mess with a guy's money.
Right.
Like, you're going to be in this contract and you'll still be in your contract, but you're going to mess with my money. But if I was to turn around and say, okay, no, I'm sitting out because I want this amount of money, you're going to say, okay, whatever. Whatever you want to do. You want to go look for a new team, you go look for a new team. Which in my eyes, not cool.
Not at all. And I mean, now I really want to roll into our deep dive on linebackers versus offensive lines. I think it's a huge topic we haven't really focused on just yet. But as you know, when you're playing offensive line, the number one big thing you have to look for is linebackers. What are they doing? Are they blitzing through the B's? Are they blitzing through the A's? Are they coming outside through the C gap? Do you see an overload to the right? You see an overload to the left? Anything like that as an offensive lineman, you have to sit on the line, key out, see what's going on, especially the center. He has to understand that stuff.
I think one thing that I always taught as a coach is, like, I know that you got a guy in front of you, but he's not your main priority. The guy sitting at 1 yard, in Canadian football, he's already 1 yard back. So the guy sitting at 1 yard is not really my major concern because we can get to him within 1 yard. It's the guy sitting at 5 to 7 that we got to go somehow bring our big butts down the field and go get them.
Well, and especially now in 2025, I feel that most offensive linemen work zone coverage. They don't do a lot of man blocking anymore. It's a lot more zone blocking. And so the best way you can really manipulate the linebackers doing that is obviously the offense throwing out misdirection. When they're using jet motions or backside pulls to make the linebackers go the other way, hit a counter going the other way. A good example of that is the Lions. They use them on St. Brown in motion. They pull the backers to the right, and then they run to the ball to the left. Right.
Right.
It works really well.
And they might do that because who knows? They might run that play. Looks like it's going that play, and he might just dump off a ball to an offensive tackle running down the field.
I was just thinking the same thing.
You know what I mean? Like they're so crazy in how they set up. And I did say offensive tackle because somehow they're going to set that offensive tackle up where he is going to have. He's an eligible guy.
Well, they run 6 offensive linemen. It's unreal.
100%.
The next thing that a lot of teams like to use are delayed pulls, obviously. Offensive guards just delaying their movement for about a half second post-snap just to bait those linebackers to the wrong gaps. The Chiefs use delayed backside guard pulls all the time to really set up their screens and counters, so it really helps a lot when you're trying to set up those screens.
Yeah, setting up screens, that is having a guy that can do that and all the guys on your staff that can make a screen happen is very important. And like for me, as a coach, I always had trouble getting my screens going. And it wasn't just because of my offensive line and the timing, that takes a lot of time for offensive linemen and running backs to really mesh that screen. And
100%.
You can't have receivers in that setup. You can't have anybody else but your O-line setting that timing up because we all know screens are only about timing. They're not about anything else. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to look perfect. Only thing that has to be perfect is the timing of when the quarterback throws the ball to the receiver or the running back, and the offensive linemen are in the place where they need to be to make the pull.
Well, and I found personally, like in my experience, trying to set up screens, and you'll know the same thing, especially with youth football, if you tell the guys, hey, we can't go past 5 yards, every single time they're going to 5-6 yards, they're going to go offside. So the best thing to do is you keep them at that kind of 3-yard range where it's just like go upfield a little bit, stop, have the running back signal to you. When he gets the ball, he's going to holler something at you, like go, 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 something like that. And it just gets that connection going and gets that really working in the youth football. Obviously, when you get to the NFL and the higher levels, they're timing and practice. They have that lockdown where they don't need to say a thing. They're just lined up.
Right? I mean, the key to a screen is making sure that the offensive linemen are behind the line, like behind that 5 yards when they throw the ball. But what really matters is the quarterback throws the ball to the guy while he's behind the line of scrimmage. Because as long as we're behind the line of scrimmage and we throw the ball, the lineman can be 70 yards up the field. It doesn't matter, right? So again, that's the key piece. And when you see that in the NFL, because these guys are professional athletes, that is a lot easier because they've been doing it through repetition for 20 years.
Well, and like for example, like the Eagles do a really good job. They'll trap the linebackers by overloading one side, and then they leak either Barkley or Gainwell to the opposite side, and they dump their little screen off back, having 3 linemen pushing out. Like, it works really well, and especially with the guys we have, it works really, really well.
Like if you want to see how to run a screen in precise, no matter if it's your running back, your slot back, your receiver, it doesn't matter who it is. You just go back and watch Tom Brady do it, because there's nobody that's ever run a screen better than Tom Brady. Nobody.
Completely agree. Now, going to spotlight players, guys that you have to really scheme against when you're looking at this. A guy that you, again, we just talked about him a second ago, but Micah Parsons. I mean, his insane burst and flexibility off the edge. Like his 2024 stat line, the dude had 15 sacks, 32 quarterback hits, and 78 pressures.
Wow.
Monster, right? He can overpressure RPOs and bootleg or freeze or redirect his momentum. He uses his motion to force him to declare coverage or rush. Then he attacks the opposite angle. So, like, a really good option to that is in Week 8 last year against the Niners, Shanahan ran a misdirection at him all game long and neutralized his rush, and it really disrupted the Dallas, and they couldn't do anything on it, right? And so that's where it takes a really good coach understanding that you have to realize when they have their number one guys, they got their Myles Garretts, they got their T.J. Watts, they got their Micah Parsons. You have to know how to neutralize those guys. They're Max Crosby's. You have to know how to neutralize those guys, or else you're going to lose it. If you don't have a guy like Trent Williams or Lane Johnson on your offensive line, it makes a really tough day when you're going against those guys.
100%. So, what's your thing? Like, how would you do it?
If I'm going against Micah Parsons, it's exactly what I just said there. You want to run misdirection. You want to run it so he thinks the ball is going towards him, and you're flipping it around the other way. Lots of counters, lots of what's the word I'm looking for? Misdirections, and then you obviously want your slot backs coming down, tight ends helping with those blocks as well too. Personally, I'd probably even have a running back sit in the backfield to make sure on pass plays, just in case he leaks out.
Right, just flash hands if he's not there. But then that's another thing. It's like a guy like Micah Parsons is waiting for you to flash your hands and bail out because he knows he's watching film. Like he's that type of guy that when he goes home, he's watching film. He's that type of guy when he's in the car riding shotgun, he's watching film.
Exactly.
Right.
Now there's another guy we want to talk about as well too. If you want to go over that one,
I do. Like, and then this guy, wow. Like, what do you say about Fred Warner? Like, he might be the best read and react linebacker in the league in my eyes. You know, he's got elite eyes. He's got quick trigger. He's ready to go all the time. Rarely fooled, so he can see what's going on. And again, that is due to people like Peyton Manning and guys saying, "Hey, guys, we need to be in the film and watching film all the time." Like 122 tackles, 8 TFLs, 3 INTs, 91.3 PFF grade. He is known for jumping passing lanes, and he just gets there so fast on a perfectly timed blitz, so there's nothing you can do to avoid that. The game plan we're going to put down on a guy like that is avoid direct zone runs up the middle, so we're going to give him misdirection. We're going to hit him with counters. We're going to hit him with delayed snaps. We're going to hit him with hard counts, right? We're going to use motion to try to get him to influence his reads, try to suck that safety down where the linebackers, he's going to have to press from that 7 to 5 and really be in your face, right?
100%.
But then you got to factor in that he is so smart that he's not going to just bite on it every single time. He's going to see, okay, oh no, they're baiting me, right? What you need in that situation is you need your center, your guard to be smart enough to climb up the branch and seal off every place that he can possibly get to. If we're going left counter, I'm going to flash right, but I know that my hips are going to the left because I got to get there as fast as I possibly can.
Well, and that really brings us to the next part of this, is that talking about the two defensive guys, I want to talk about the guy that did this the best. He's not in the league anymore. I got his jersey hanging up right back there. But Jason Kelce, he was the master at climbing the linebackers. He changed the center position when you really think about it. There was no centers that running up and blocking linebackers and safeties like the way he did it. And, I see it at the youth level nowadays where these centers are running up. And, I've had a couple kids, man, where it's just insane where they'll just go up and block safeties and backers and everything you need. It's unreal. And I truly believe that he's the best second-level reach blocker in his whole era.
It's because they got coaches like you who see these guys making the evolution jump, and they're saying, okay, well, if these guys can make that evolution jump, we can put that into our smaller scheme in the smaller scheme of football. We can bring that into bantam football, high school football, and actually use that to our advantage.
Well, and talking about Kelce, obviously back in the 2023 is his last conference championship game. He just destroyed Greenlaw multiple times, right? Erased him from any tackles on screens because he was just upfield making those blocks. He took optimal angles. He didn't overpower. He just out leveraged, out positioned you, and his timing let him just seal those cutback lanes perfectly. Where it's unstoppable.
Right. I was at one of your Broncos games last year when you were the lineman coach, and it was winter and it was icy and it was crappy, and your center somehow got upfield, and I think you guys threw a pick, but your center got upfield 30 yards down the field and absolutely decleated probably
it was unreal.
And this kid that he decleated was probably one of the biggest kids in the league, number 99. Everyone was saying his name, and people were getting goosebumps because this kid was just a monster. And your center tracked him down and absolutely pumped him out of bounds.
Oh, and that's why this kid's going to go far.
Right.
I've never seen a kid that had that ability where, on top of his athletic ability, his attitude, his coachability, man, it's just unreal. When you get to see players like that, it's just the sky's the limit.
Right.
And I've said it the first episode. I'll fall back to this, buddy. The world is your oyster. I promise you that.
100%.
You keep working hard and you keep grinding out, buddy, and it's going to be unreal.
If you want it, like our friend Austin said, if you want it, treat it like a job and go get it.
Yep. And the kids we coach, I can confidently say, man, a lot of them treat it like a job, and they go to work with their lunch boxes, and they go to work. They put their hard hats on, and it's go time.
Right.
Now, obviously, I wanted to talk about modern O-line IQ as well. Going to the next segment here, talking about how you see centers nowadays, they operate kind of like quarterbacks. They're sitting
100%.
down, they're identifying the MAC, they're calling the slide protections, they're identifying the strong safety blitz cues, anything like that where they're coming off the edge, corner blitzes, halfback blitzes coming up, and it makes a big difference. Example of that's obviously Creed Humphrey. He calls his protections based on overloads. If he sees the overload coming right or left, he's calling what they're doing, what we're going here. On the Eagles, you got Dickerson. He can reset the post-snap blitz if the disguise becomes obvious. That's one thing that good coaches allow their centers to do is realize when the blitz is coming, that you can make that decision. You can make that call.
Right. It takes me back to a place like 2005, 2006, 2007, where, Jeff Saturday and Peyton Manning were, having that beef on the sidelines.
Right.
And he's yelling at Jeff, and Jeff's yelling at him, and Jeff says, let's just run the ball, and Peyton wants to throw the ball all the time. But again, you could be a quarterback and see what you want to see. But your face is not next to another guy's face saying, okay, I see where this guy's going. So when you're the center and you do the film work and you're there, you know what the heck's going on. Like, you just know. So for a guy to say, okay, I've watched film all week, I know this guy's coming here no matter what, their safety came down, they only run this play 2 times in an entire game, so we know what they're doing. So if I'm the center, I'm checking out of the pass, because I know that we have a possibility, if our O-line gels and the running back comes up, we might get 15, 20 or break one for a big gain or a touchdown.
And this as a coach, and this is the true belief I have, and I know you have it as well too. When your offensive line coach trusts his O-line, he can come off the field during the defensive time. Kate, you're meeting with the O-line, you're asking them what you see, what's going on, where's the blitz coming from, what do you see? Because they can see a bit better than you can up there. They have the different angle than the coaches do. And then from that point, your O-line coach needs to talk to your offensive coordinator. They need to be in sync. They need to be like this. And that OC 100%. Needs to trust you when you say, hey, my boys are seeing this out there. Let's try to run this play outside here. Let's try to run something this way because we're getting lots of pressure inside. We're getting lots of pressure outside. We need to now focus the ball the other way. And that's any team with a grain of salt that wants to be successful. I promise you, run that recipe for your offense, and you're going to see it just go so far.
Well, you seen it when you were in high school, when we went from a terribly bad offensive coordinator who had not a lot of interest in putting in the extra work, going to a guy that we have as our head coach who fired the outgoing guy and took over the play calling. And the next year, we didn't really change anything. We had pretty much the same guys that we had, and we probably lost a lot of good guys that were in positions. But with that offensive coordinator working side by side with myself, the offensive line coach, everything just gelled, and we won it all.
The Bruce final.
We won it all.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm talking about. That was what was that 2014 season? I mean, it makes a huge difference, dude. I tell you. And obviously, when you're talking about disguising blitz reads, when you see, like, for example, quote unquote, sugaring the A gap, when it looks like a blitz but they drop back, smart O lines can adjust that pre-snap and they really can see where their feet are going. Sim pressure, rush 3, drop 5, O line have to react without blowing assignments. They have to know, 100%. Okay, this guy's lining up as an end. Shit, he's dropping in coverage. I know this blitz is coming now. I got to take that guy and I got to pick that block up and make sure I know what's going on. And that's where track blocking comes in a really big example. As a center, my favorite thing to do is track block. You got 4 guys up front. You see your guys, okay, they're safe. You track block a little bit. All of a sudden, your defensive end's popping out. He's going to hit the quarterback. You have to go make that read and pick that block up. 100%. And I tell you right now, if you can do that as a center or even a guard, track block really well, oh, man, it's because let's say you're a guard. You're going against a 30 front. You now don't have a guy directly in front of you. Now it's time to track block. Now it's time to look for those blitzes, look for what's happening out there, and you need to stay with your head on a swivel and keep that quarterback safe.
100%. I mean, you look at all the guys in the league that are, so good at doing those things. But you look at the Steelers center, what's his name? Zach Frazier, I believe is Zach Frazier, right? Like, he is an absolute savant playing center. As a starter, took over week 1 for the Steelers. And, the Steelers were all over the map last year, right? He played 15 out of 17 regular seasons game in 2024, plus a wild card game, right? Despite missing, with his ankle injury, but he is just an absolute savant when it comes to offensive line and the center position, right? Named to the PFWA All-Rookie Team first year. Now,
first Steeler to do it since 2010.
And we're talking about Marquise Pouncey, who was absolutely...
Oh, Pouncey brothers were just unreal, dude. Right? Oh, my God.
Just a legend. Just an absolute legend, that guy.
We'll do a little segment about them next week, 100%.
In my eyes, you know what? That's a great idea. We'll talk about the Pouncey brothers next week because there's 2 of them.
Two of them.
There's
And they're
two
both
of them.
equally Hall of Famers. Like, they're
Right.
both monsters, both unreal athletes. And they got a kind of crazy backstory, too. They were on a pretty crazy Florida team at one point.
Yes, they were. One of the greatest college football teams of all time. Possibly could have competed in the NFL.
Right?
Right? And then you go into your performing metrics, and PFF ranked him 6th among all centers with a 77.9 grades as a rookie, man. Over 500 snaps of pass blocking. He only allowed 12 pressures, roughly 2.3 pressure rate. One of the best overall. And this for me is my thing. Film notes. Excellent snaps versus Grady Jarrett of the Falcons, consistently mauling defenders at the line. When you get into the film room and you watch and watch and watch and watch, and you're not just watching to see the plays running, you're watching to see what's this guy doing. If it's a run, if it's a pass, like what's his left hand doing? What's his right hand doing? Where are hips pointed? Like where's his head? Like you're looking for the small things when you're watching film. You're not looking at touchdowns. You're not looking at what receivers are doing. You're looking at the defensive 5 guys in front of you, plus the 2 backers, or whatever way you want to throw that. Those are the guys that we're concerned about all the time. And that's tough. Like, it took me a long time as a coach to only be able to watch those guys and not watch the receivers run down the field and not, those things. Like, that's a hard thing for anybody.
The problem now is trying to watch an NFL game, and all I can do is focus on the goddamn offensive lineman because my brain's so ingrained in that.
It's a gift and a curse at the same time, right? Right? I mean, this guy is just praised for his toughness, his technique, and his strong communication and protection calls. Like, he's just mentally ready to be an NFL long-time guy.
Oh, yeah, man. Like, Pittsburgh landed a top 5 NFL caliber center as a rookie. He's smart, physical, and reliable in both run and pass schemes. I mean, this dude is going to be a future HOFer. He's just going to be an absolute monster.
I can't wait till he has beef with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, just a time out quick. I just want to throw something in there. Knowing that they didn't draft Shedeur Sanders because Aaron Rodgers asked them not to.
It's crazy.
Come on, man. How would you have felt if the frickin' Packers did that to you? Because at the time, you had a legend in front of you. I wouldn't call him a legend now because of some of the stuff that he's done. But how would you have felt if they said, we're going to pass on you because Brett Favre's here and we don't need you?
Right.
Like, the old saying I learned from Preston, sucks to suck.
Exactly. Now the next thing we want to go to, this is going to be a weekly segment. This week we're changing it up a little bit because now we're talking about linebackers. So what we're going to do is we're going to hop into the Wheel of Teams.
The Wheel of
Teams. And, this week I've got it a little bit differently set up so you guys can actually see the wheel. It'll be a little cooler that way. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pick a player that we think is going to be really good for, pulls or stopping linebackers, a guy that's going to really hold up against elite linebackers like Fred Warner or Queen Smith or Micah Parsons, like the end guy there. He's kind of DN linebacker. I'll give him that hybrid role.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're going to look at that. So we'll start it up here. All right, guys. So I'm going to start this up first. Here we go.
All right, here we go. Preston up first. You're spinning.
Ooh, Buffalo Bills. Let's see. So from Buffalo Bills. Oh, I got to take the guy. I got to take my boy Deion Dawkins, 100%. You can't not take Deion Dawkins. The dude literally was a single hand, trying to push for that award. So I mean, at the end of the day, I'm taking me some Deion Dawkins here. Okay. Now, time for Robbie's pick. You ready?
Let's hit it. Come on, Raiders.
Ooh, Colts.
I don't even have to look.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
I'm going Quentin
Nelson.
Nelson.
Your guy. 100%.
I'm going with the guy, Quentin Nelson. We're going to touch on him again. I got a wicked cool story to touch on when we get to the next part of the segment. But seeing this guy live in person,
he's a man amongst boys.
Absolutely crazy.
And I mean, when you look at his PFF grading, I think it's 81.3. Like, just a monster.
Just gross.
Alrighty. Time for my second pick. Let's see. But I'm not going to make the mistake this week of picking 3 guards either. I know I made that mess up last week.
Hey, we can always... Sometimes we can switch. Oh.
Colts again. Okay. Well, you took the main guy.
I thought you were getting the Raiders.
Oh. I've already taken my left tackle too, which sucks.
They got a pretty good road grader at the right tackle.
Give me Braden Smith. Right tackle. Right tackle, Braden Smith.
And he's a dog.
Alrighty.
I think I'm going to
See
get the
who's up
Philadelphia
here.
Eagles. Here comes the Eagles here. Make it easy for them. Make it easy. Oh, the Cleveland Browns.
So you only have a left tackle pick or left guard pick so far. So you need left tackle, center, right guard, or right tackle.
I am going to go with my right guard spot with
Wyatt Teller?
Teller, yep.
Love it. Solid pick, solid pick. Let's go! Don't even have to look. Give me Maliata.
Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, and I took 2 tackles already. God damn it. Give me the center. Or Cam Jurgens at center, actually. Give me... Oh, I'm still taking Landon. Give me Landon. Landon's one of the best pulling guards in the league, man. He's such a monster.
Right. No, I didn't personally know that Quentin Nelson went from center to guard. I did not know that.
Yeah, he's playing left guard for the Colts right now.
Because I know when he got drafted, he was definitely a center.
That's the nice part. When you're that good, you can be that fundamentally different player where you can switch between the guards, the center, to tackle. I mean, he can play all 5 spots. Let's be honest here. He's an absolute monster.
100%. Okay, I'm getting the
All right,
Raiders
you ready?
on this one. I'm getting the Raiders on this one. Come on, Raiders. He got it. It's my turn. So close.
How again the Colts? No, we're gonna respin that one. You ready? Want to respin it or do you want to take it?
I can take it.
Okay.
I can take it.
So now remember, both tackles are gone.
Ooh.
Oh no, sorry. But Bernard Romain's still there. You can take the left tackle.
What?
I don't think you have a left tackle yet. You only have a right guard and a left guard so far. So you can take that left tackle there. Bernard Remian.
I'm gonna go with a decent pick here. I'm gonna go with I gotta go with my left tackle, Bernard Rainaman.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the best pick you
Raymond.
can take out of those guys. He's a monster.
Yeah. Apparently everyone just wants
Alrighty.
me to pick frickin'
Colts.
the Colts. That's my second Colter. So close to the Raiders too. Ooh,
Rams. Let's see.
There's some dogs on the Rams.
Okay, so I already have. So far, I have a left guard, I have a right tackle, and I have a left tackle. So I need a right guard and a center.
As I said, Dotson's an absolute monster.
Yeah, I think that's who I'm taking is Kevin Dotson for sure.
Okay, Wheel.
He's a monster.
Let's go. No Colts, no Colts, no Colts.
Alrighty. Oh, nice.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
And now you need you already took a left tackle, you already took a right guard, and you took a left guard, so you could take a right tackle or a center. So, I mean, I know who I'd be taking out of these 2 guys. It'd be pretty silly not to.
I'm definitely taking Cam Jurgens. He was trained by the best of the best of the best.
You're telling me you're not taking Lane Johnson? That'd punch me in the throat. Cam Jurgens is a monster, though. Don't get me right.
What are we
Cam
talking?
Jurgens was handpicked by Jason Kelsey and Sons. So
100%.
trust me, I completely agree that Cam Jurgens is a monster. It's just Lane Johnson is probably 1 to 2 best right tackles in the league, in my opinion. He's an absolute. But I know what you're doing. I know you're waiting out for it because you want him. I know you do.
I've been hitting back to back here, so hopefully I'm going to get back to back Eags.
Here we go.
Last pick for you.
This would be the last pick. Center.
Oh,
Let's go.
I hate you.
But here's the problem: is you already took Cam Jurgens.
Oh yeah.
So I have to pick a new team. Damn it! Because I think all I need is I have where is it here? I have a right guard, I have a left guard, I have a right tackle, and I have a left tackle. So I'll need the center, yeah. So unfortunately, I got to repick. That's lame.
Come on, Atlanta Falcons.
Washington Redskins.
Redskins, home of the Hoggies. They created it.
Now, we should probably update that so it says Washington Commanders, but I still like that name.
Yeah, they're fighting to get it back.
Washington. Give me Tyler Bayadzans. I'm gonna butcher that last name. I really apologize for that. Bayadaza. An ASZ at the end is kind of wild to me. That's a name for sure.
Rob's not even trying to call it.
All right, last pick, Rob. You ready? I hate you. I absolutely hate you.
Did you take Landon Dickerson?
No, but Lane Johnson's your last player you need, your right tackle.
Yeah, I'll take Lane Johnson.
I hate you.
I'm pretty sure I just beat you now.
Yep.
And last week you kicked my butt, so.
I mean, but again, I picked 3 guards, so really,
right.
I had to switch positions around.
Hey, we're offensive linemen. We're like Swiss Army knives. Trust me, we can do it.
Okay, so my offensive line is going to be Deion Dawkins at left tackle. I'm having my left guard is going to be Landon Dickerson. Oh, not mad about that. My center is going to be Tyler Berdazes. I'm going to butcher. Someone in the comments tell me how to say that because I'm butchering that. My right guard is going to be Kevin Dotson, and my right tackle is Braden Smith. So, decent offensive line. I think that, obviously those guys are decently in the polls. I'm taking Landon as my main guy in the polls. Dawkins for sure, too. But, just based off of overall PFF grades, I'm going to get roasted in this. So, Robbie, he's got Lane Johnson at right tackle. He's got Wyatt Teller at right guard. He's got Cam Jurgens at center. So, I mean, the fact that you have Cam and Lane Johnson,
and Quentin Nelson.
But we're getting to that part. And then he's got the absolute dog, Quentin Nelson. And as much as I'm hyping up all the guys in the Eagles offensive line, other than Lane Johnson, I'm taking Quentin Nelson all day long. I'm sorry, he is an absolute monster. Landon, I think you're good, but Quentin Nelson's great. That's the difference. And, he's just, when you're an absolute mass of a man, it's really hard to not be that guy. That was great. I thought that went a lot better than last week. I like having the actual wheel on the screen. I think you guys are going to enjoy that a little more as well too, getting to see the spins with us instead of me just pulling out my phone and having it on there like that. But we're learning. We're getting better every week. We're trying new stuff. We're going to try and flip stuff around to see if we can make this a better podcast every week.
I think next week for the wheel, we're gonna go all the time. So we're gonna.
I like that.
Right? We're gonna go all the time.
I like that.
Right.
The only time I'll ever be cheering on wanting the Cowboys.
All right, what do we got up next?
Going into next, we got the underrated big guy spotlight. So I'm going to pick my first guy here, and then I got a second guy lined up for you as well, too. So my first guy here is going to be Tevin Jenkins of the Browns. He's an offensive guard. He played 14 games last year. He had a career high after limited action in the previous seasons. He was a little bit injured. He had just 2 sacks last year and 11 pressures over 14 games, a 3.8% pressure rate allowed. So his career best he had as well, too. He earned a 75.4 PFF overall grade, putting at the 18th among offensive guards, 75.8 in pass blocking. His run blocking was 71.7, 11th among offensive guards. He's physical. He pulls well in zone runs. He displays solid football IQ. He's great on combo blocks, and his second level climbing is just out of this world. I think he's just an absolute dog who just really helps their offensive line and makes it so he can really push off. It matters when you look at in boom or bust seasons. At the end of the day, he's consistently delivered, but his ability to pull and climb to linebackers, open holes for runs, and think screens and end arounds. I mean, goddamn, it's just unreal. In blitz-heavy situations, he holds the line, he communicates. He's a little less flashy, but he's not built for flashy. He's built for consistency. He's an absolute dog.
So we got Alaric Jackson, Los Angeles Rams left tackle. And he's coming and sitting behind Andrew Whitworth, which is, in my eyes, he's a Thor. He's a god among men. A little bit of a backstory. He went undrafted in 2021, worked his way from the practice squad, earning starting spot 2023-2024 season. His pass protection in 2024 was ranked pretty mid, 22nd among all tackles, so not crazy. As I said, after playing 1,000+ snaps last year. Overall PFF score was 78.4, so pretty good. 18th at his position. So, 18th out of 170 guys, that's pretty dang good. Very consistent, durable. One of just a few tackles, both high grade, full season ability, and high volume snap count. He can just go and go and go and go and go.
Oh, he's unreal, dude.
He's like the Energizer Bunny. Which is not relevant anymore because there's no such thing as the Energizer Bunny anymore.
Like he's a top 20 tackle in the league all day long.
Right.
His versatility is what matters. You don't see the flash on the stat lines, but it's pretty vital when you're building an offensive line for blitz heavy mashups. He's the kind of player who can absorb the edge pressure and really levels up the young right tackles or scheme heavy pieces. He really wants to understand that.
Right.
So the next segment, that's it. I just want to go over two guys.
Two. Okay,
Yeah, I want to do 2 a week here. We're just going over 2 guys every week, just kind of getting them hyped up, getting more guys talked about. But a little bit there, we were just talking about them young rookies from this year. So I want to talk about guys from the previous years, guys that are pushing up. Next thing I want to go. Sorry.
Like I said, I can't wait till we're in mid-season or starting season.
Oh man,
and we're
much better.
And we're pulling these stats from live games and things like that, right? What are we going next?
So next thing we're going to hit is flag on the play. We talked about this last week a little bit, a couple of things. So I want to have two flags on the play this week. So I'm going to talk about the first one. We'll get Robbie to talk about the second one here because he was talking about it a little bit earlier. So I was hoping he'd wait for it to talk about it on here, which is perfect.
Yeah.
So the first one I want to talk about is old CJ Gardner-Johnson versus Vic Fangio.
He's getting 2 thumbs down.
After being traded, the Eagles DC said the move was strictly a salary cap thing. In response, Gardner-Johnson posted on Instagram, fired back that just, hey, you don't do them young guys like you did me. And I don't know. To me, that's a little bit of a slap in the face because you left, right? We brought you back in. You won a Super Bowl with us. And then we have these younger dudes in there that unfortunately they cost less money and can produce the same amount of stats. When we have guys like Cooper DeJean, you get guys like other side corner there, Quignon there. He's a monster. And you get all those guys, Quinyon Mitchell, I think is his name there. Yeah, he's an absolute monster. It's tough, right? And same thing with Slay. Those guys left, and to me, that's a flag on the play. That's a dirty hit. Coaches using the classic franchise jargon, and then you publicly roast him like that. Like, I get it's personal and public, and he's right to call it out. But I mean, that's some messy drama where like that's something where you could easily leave that and just be a conversation over the phone or over text. Like, you don't need to go and flame a team that did everything for you, brought you back, and you won a Super Bowl. They could have let you rot and been a free agent after the Lions let you go. But we knew how successful you'd be, and we wanted you back.
Right. I mean, it goes down to the old saying: the best player is going to play. When you get up in the ranks, in the higher levels of football, it's the best player plays.
Exactly. And so it's next man up football.
That can't just be something as a professional scout or as a coach. You have to be able to see into the future. You have to 100%. Be able to look at the guy and say, okay, I see this young guy coming up. He's hungry. He hasn't made his millions yet. He's right now ready to win a championship, and then we'll take care of the rest after that happens. Now, again, you bring a guy back who, you're hoping is going to be a mentor to the guys and teach them the ways, but he is so about Gardner-Johnson that it's really hard for him to see past that.
Exactly. Now, like I said before, I thought you talked about this one a little bit, but I want you to bring it up as a flag here too as well.
Again, I just threw a little sticky about this because it really teed me. I didn't think it was right, how a guy could go and block somebody's future from happening. Maybe he could have been the next guy. He has the passion to be the next guy, but for Aaron Rodgers to sit there and say, don't chase this other quarterback because I'm going to come here. For me, like I said, with the Brett Favre thing, they could have easily done that to Aaron Rodgers. Like Aaron Rodgers opened his mouth and said he was the best guy in the draft, and what happened to him? Right. He fell and fell and fell and fell because guys don't want cocky egos. Guys that don't
want egos.
Right? Like we want guys that want to be on the team. We don't want guys that want to be bigger than the team. We don't want guys that want to own the team. We just want guys on the team that are going to be there for one thing and one thing only. Because it's not just about having fun when you're playing football in the pros. You're there to do one thing and one thing only, and that's win championships.
100%.
And is Aaron Rodgers going to win a championship with Pittsburgh in my eyes? No. Like, absolutely not. Like, you're telling me you went out and made your buddy that you played with, who was still a top receiver in the league last year, and you couldn't even get him the ball. You know what I mean? So a guy like Aaron Rodgers, he's getting no love from me. He's going to leave the Steelers hanging. They were better off with the 2 guys they had. They didn't have to pay him. They're giving Rodgers $10 million guaranteed. Like, what are we talking?
$30 million contract for one season.
But it's $10 million guaranteed, and the rest of it's all on incentive pay. And it's just like, okay, well, no wonder he's getting $10 million guaranteed because he's not going to reach no incentives. He's not Brett Favre.
He ain't doing shit.
He ain't Brett Favre.
And it sucks too because if you look at the reality of it, and if the guy just retired 3 years ago. Went away on that 2022 season. I think what was the year he won MVP? Was it 21 or 22? He was MVP.
Yeah.
It was one of his last seasons of the Packers, and then his one more subpar season leaves, and decides that he's going to play for the Jets, tears his leg out. Now he's on the Steelers. I mean, like, you could have walked away in the sunset and had everybody remember you for being the Super Bowl champion, MVP player, all this stuff. But now anyone for the rest of the football community is always going to remember this guy as the dude who went and did ayahuasca in the desert and fucked his career up.
Well, then let's be honest. 2 of the MVPs they won was because the league didn't want to give them to Tom Brady because Tom Brady was already winning everything. So, if knowing and thinking that Tom Brady's probably going to win the Super Bowl, why do we need to make him MVP? Because he's already going to get the things. It's
Right.
like what they did to Jokic in the NBA. It's like, well, we can't make Jokic the best player of all time if he keeps winning all these MVPs.
You're just gonna have to just give it to this Canadian kid and make sure he gets 100 fucking free throws a game.
100%. Like, that's how I see that. And again, it's offside. It's, unnecessary. It's just 2 thumbs down. I feel for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but you guys made a terrible, terrible choice.
Now, our next thing I want to pop into is going to be the hot take debate. And this is something that I think is important. I think that this is a good question to have, and I want to debate with you guys in the comments as well too. Tell me I'm wrong. Argue with us. Tell me what's going on, because I think that I'm right. I think this makes more sense to me. And honestly, let's settle this once and for all. In today's NFL, offensive line IQ is more valuable than raw athletic talent. With how complex blitzes are, the disguising packages have gotten, the smart guys in the room are more important than the strongest. And I truly believe that. When you look at a guy like Jason Kelce, undersized center, he wasn't the strongest, he wasn't the fastest, but he was the smartest. He knew what to do, and he was ripping right through. Like I said, centers and guards now calling protections more than ever. It's basically quarterback in the line. Blitz disguises like simulated pressure, or we talked about sugared A-gaps, require instant recognition. Think guys like Creed Humphrey, Jason Kelce, Zach Frazier, they're not the biggest dudes, but they're the smartest. And a good example is 2023 Dolphins. They had elite athletes, but they struggled with blitz pickups due to miscommunication because they didn't have the brains on their offensive line. Right. And I think that raw strength means nothing. If you slide protection the wrong way, your quarterback gets folded.
Well, I always look at it like this. You can build muscle, right? You can learn things, but one thing you can't do is you can't be a genius, and you can't teach that. You can't teach a guy to want to be smarter at the things that he likes, right? So I mean, getting a guy that is already 2 steps ahead of everybody else in his brain as an offensive lineman, we can go throw 60 pounds on him in the weight room and turn him into an absolute monster. But you can't bring a guy back to the books and teach him how to be smart. You just can't. When you're an adult, again, that's just not how that works in my brain.
And the other flip of the coin is, I do agree. There's a certain ability where talent still does win. I played with lots of guys where they weren't the smartest dudes in the world, but they had the talent and the physical abilities where if you put the brain in their head, they would have went to the CFL or the NFL.
100%.
One of my best friends, I truly, truly believe that if he had the ability in his head to think a little bit more when it comes to football and not just break his body down and use his body so much like he did, I truly think he would have made the CFL. And when you look at freaks like Penny Sewell, Trent Williams, Lane Johnson, like they erase edge rushers without really having the brain games. They just dominate. And I understand you can't teach anchor strength, you can't teach foot speed or hand balance at an elite level. Like that's just they have to have it or they don't.
Right.
And at the end of the day, like they say, smart guys can get beaten by exotic stunts because they can't physically recover back. Like Micah Parsons, he can overpower anybody. But that's why you put your left tackle, right tackles. They aren't your big brain dudes. They're your monsters. They're your maulers, right? They're the guys that are supposed to take those dudes out. And so if you can ID a blitz perfectly, but you don't have the feet to stop it, you're not going to be successful either. So that's where there's both sides of the coin. There's the side of the coin where you have to have the IQ, but then you have to have a bit of physical as well too. And you can, if you're really, really, really good with the IQ, you can pass the physical. You don't need it as much. Right. You can hide it a little bit easier, right? But the opposite end of it, if you're really, really big with no IQ, you're going to get roasted really quick.
I always found to look for the guys that when they put their battle uniform on and they're ready to go to battle, if they don't have the fear of the guy across from them, because that's what happened to me. Once I became a football player and I put on my gear, I lost the fear of any man. You know what I mean? Like there was never a time in the rest of my whole life where I was like, okay, there's a guy across from me. And I wasn't thinking, oh, how do I beat him? Or how do I go do this? I just knew that I had my battle gear on and I was ready to absolutely end your soul. Well, and so when you get a guy like that, and like when we talk about Trent Williams and Lane Johnson and taking and erasing these edge rushers, it's not just because they're smarter than them. Those men do not have fear of other men. So when you don't have fear in your heart, the sky's the limit.
Well, and I think it comes down to like a guy like me and you, both opposite players. How we were with you had the physicals, you had the 6'5" height, you had the arm reach, you had the leg length. Where me, I'm like 5'9", 5'10". I had to be the smart guy out there. I had to understand where blitzers were coming from. I had to know to where to get to and where to do those things. And so that that does show both sides of the coin. Is just on this podcast alone is that we were both kind of opposite players that way. Like you didn't really get the brains of the offensive line until you really started coaching, understanding it, and then you started giving that to guys like me who, okay, you were sitting down going, okay, my little brother's fucking a foot shorter than me. I got to figure out how to get this kid learning up how he needs to play offensive line and how he needs to be able to be successful. And I mean, I think we did such a great job, you really enlisting that into me to get in the playbook, to be successful, to understand the blitzes, to understand where that's coming from and that, and really be the quarterback of the offensive line.
100%. But like, again, as a good coach, we picked the guys that we knew that were battle tested. So we would we would go soak up some D linemen sometimes, just in the sheer fact that we know these guys can move and hit. And again, fear and football, they don't work together. If you're afraid to get hit, you can't be an offensive lineman.
Well, I think we talked about this a couple episodes ago too, where if you don't line up when you're playing offensive line, defensive line, and shit, any position on the field, you're playing receiver, corner, doesn't matter. If you don't line up, think always in your head has to be this thought that I'm gonna beat the shit out of this guy across from me. 100%. I don't even want you on the field. I don't even want you as a player. Truthfully, because I'm not saying be dirty. I'm not saying be gross or anything like that. I'm just saying that if you don't believe in your head that it doesn't matter if you're bigger, stronger, faster, smaller, short, like it doesn't matter. If you don't believe truly in your heart and in your head that you're gonna beat the shit out of that guy across from you, you shouldn't be playing football.
100%. That's a true. Like I had this guy last year on my offensive line at the St. Joe's, and just a young guy, but so much talent. One of the most coachable kids I ever worked with. But he was a two-sport athlete, which a lot of guys talk about. So with his other sport, it really gave him the ability to lower his center of gravity and understand how that his body works. So he's in grade 10. He's going up against a guy that has been to like training camps and all these things. And he's a superior athletic man, and there was nothing he could do because this other kid just knew his body so well and he knew that he had his gear on. So there's no way this guy could hurt him. And every single rep they'd go against each other. It wouldn't be a battle. He would just beat him and beat him and beat him. In the locker room, he'd beat him. He'd beat him at school. He'd beat him on the football field.
I got to have that kid in grade 9 on my team.
Right.
And I'm telling you this for sure, for every equivocal standpoint, he was an absolute road grader. Right. And when he had to go against those kids when he was in grade 9, it was completely unfair because he was just I remember we're playing a provincial final game. We're down in St. Paul. And these were some big boys they had. Like I'm talking, their offensive line must have been 6'2", 6'3", and this kid in grade 9, he wasn't crazy tall. He was probably about 6 foot, a little bit taller than me. And I remember at one point in time, he comes off the field, nose is bleeding, and he's looking at me going, "Coach, I don't know what else I can do out there." And that was the reality. Was he had that in his brain where it didn't matter if he was smaller than you, if you were taller than him, it didn't matter. He is gonna absolutely try to road grader you every single play and get everything we have. And I can tell you this. We were down and out in that game. We were one solid drive away from coming back and winning the provincial final.
Crazy. And it was an absolute wild game, too.
One of my favorites.
Brown grass because it was cold outside.
Oh, man. The field was painted we're playing on grass. Like, ugh. It was gross, but I'll tell you, it was fun.
My favorite part about this guy is that when he takes his helmet off, he is not that guy.
No, he's the nicest guy you could ever see in life.
Nicest guy you've ever met in your life, ever. And you know what? Pains me because he was such a good kid. But he's a dirty old Broncos fan. Love you, buddy.
So yeah, just hitting the wrap up for this week. Before we wrap up the show, I really wanted we broke down obviously the offensive line handling elite linebackers from Bate and Micah Parsons to Track and Fred Warner. We spun the wheel at teams. We built our offensive trenches against the blitz heavy schemes. We flagged some wild takes, and I always say shout out to CJGJ. For keeping them receipts. I get it. I completely understand. But, that's just how it goes.
Right. Guys, don't forget about our underrated big guys this week. Tavon Jenkins and Alaric Jackson holding it down in the shadows. Solid trench play without any headlines. Nobody's talking about these guys. We're talking about them, but you know what I mean?
Exactly.
We're trying to make it so that everybody out there knows these guys' names. Because without these guys, like I say week in and week out, without these guys up front, it doesn't matter who you have on your defense. It doesn't matter if you got Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. It doesn't matter who you got because without these guys, these unsung heroes, there's nothing.
Now, we want to hear from you. At the end of the day, I want to know, is offensive line IQ the new gold standard or are physical freaks still the ones going to be dominating the line? Hit us up. drop us on Instagram. We got YouTube, we got TikTok, all those different things. Take us in.
Okay, so we're getting to the final parts of the episode. I want to do some cool, fun stuff next week. Like, let's work into the Hoggie Shuffle. I think maybe we'll dive into some trick plays and some deceptions, a little offensive line movement, how pre-snaps chaos turned into post-snap mistakes or mismatches. Plus, you know what? It's coming back again, like I already announced. Wheel of Teams is coming back.
It's going to be a weekly thing we're doing. Wheel of Teams, I want to do it every single week. And it's going to get so much more fun once we're in the actual regular season because we can talk about stuff that we've seen last week where we're like, hey, we've seen this defensive scheme. What do you think that best offensive line against this defense would do or this defensive player or things like that? And we're going to really make it a lot of fun.
Right, and hit us up. Like, we want to know what you guys want to see on the Wheel of Teams, how we can make that more fun for everybody. So, if you got any ideas, any things you guys want to see us mess around with, hit us up. Let us know.
But yeah, that's the meat and potatoes of the episode, guys. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. We have a lot of fun doing this. This is something we get to do every week, so we get to stay connected, and we get to hear from the fans. We get to see it on there. This week, I've noticed lots of comments on the socials, so it's been really awesome seeing the engagement out there, seeing you guys wanting to hear more, wanting to talk about this more. And if you guys have any ideas, I've seen a couple times where there was somebody shouted out for a certain guest out there, so I'm really working hard to get him on here. But at the end of the day, just comment on there, get engaged, tell us what you want to see. Argue with me. I don't care. Have fun with it. Like, we're out here having fun. I promise you, it's a lot of fun.
And while I was home last week, any person that I seen that knows me, that's part of football, all they could do was talk about how much fun they're having watching this podcast. And that's, and for me, it'll never be about dollars and cents or anything like that. I just love that people are listening to what we're saying, and because we're brothers, they love our banter, and it's just natural for them to like it, and they think it's just fun and fantastic.
Time. All right, guys. Well, that's this week's episode. We are going to be signing off, and we'll catch you back next week.
See you guys later.
See you guys later.
That was a long one.